Representative Paul on the House Financial Services Committee, of course, a staunch critic of Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke, and a big hawk about our debt and deficit. Congressman, welcome back.
Thank you, Carl. Good to be with you.
We had you on prior to debate number one. Your expectations, I think, fair to say, were relatively low going into that. Given the lopsided nature of that debate, doesn't tonight seem a little more interesting, at least to you?
Well, not really, but I think it will be to the general public because there's been a lot of hype built up. You know, Obama's up, then he's down, now Romney's up. Who's going to go up or who's going down? And it's discouraging to me because I don't think they get to the real issues, and that's what I'm hoping they'll do. And I guess we'll have a little bit of chance as a town hall meeting that somebody there will be shrewd enough to ask a really good question like the lady did about the credit card. I think that's great. Maybe if they talked about the credit card, they'd say, well, who has the federal credit card? Well, it just happens to be the Federal Reserve. Without the Federal Reserve, none of that deficit would occur. So I hope we get some questions along those lines.
What would you like to hear from the president? What does the president need to do, Congressman, to get some momentum back?
Well, he needs to admit that foreign policy is wrong and that he's too slow on ending the wars and that wars have been a failure and we need to change our foreign policy, that he made a mistake in Libya and he's not going to make a mistake in Syria, so therefore he's going to change the foreign policy and not have NATO dictate our foreign policy or the United Nations. And hopefully then Governor Romney would follow and say, you know, that sounds like a pretty good idea. That might be the best thing we can do for the American people, and that would be a good place to start saving some money because our policies have been harmful, not only for our national security purposes, but have been so harmful to us financially as well. These $4 trillion of additional debt for these wars in the last 10 years is a serious problem, and neither one of them really want to admit how serious the foreign policy contributes to our economic problems.
Congressman Paul, you're a Fed critic, and Mitt Romney has said he will not appoint Ben Bernanke or not reappoint Ben Bernanke. What's your thought on that? And do you have a candidate to replace Bernanke?
Well, if you have to have a Fed and you have to have a chairman, you know, I've supported Jim Grant for this, and I know you know Jim Grant. He would know what to do to work toward closing it down, and he'd quit monetizing the debt. But I've often made the statement that Bernanke per se is not the problem. It's a system. He's just doing what Fed chairmen always do, is they print money when the Congress spends too much. And everybody complained about Greenspan. He kept interest rates too low, too long. So what was the solution? Lower them even more and keep them for eternity. And that's what this QE business is all about. So you can't solve the problem that Greenspan gave us by keeping interest rates too low, too long, by accelerating the interest rates lower than ever before. Just run the printing presses for forever, and then they wonder, why isn't the confidence coming back? Why is this not working?
The Republican platform has a gold commission in the platform, and I reckon if Romney wins, he would follow through on that. You served on one of those years ago. Would you serve on another one?
Oh, sure. I would try to contribute as much as I could. Sometimes, and you recall, I know the Gold Commission in the early 1980s, and there were 17 of us. 15 were anti-gold and pro-Fed, and they were from Treasury and they were from the Fed. So it's who gets appointed. You know, if it's just sort of a cover-up and say, oh, yeah, we just talked about gold again and sound money, and there's a lot more talk right now about, you know, tying our dollar to gold, but they might just use it as a cover-up. I mean, we really have to be serious about it. So I will do my very best. If anybody is interested in my opinions about it, I would do my very best to contribute the best I could to obeying the Constitution and make our dollar as good as gold.
But, Congressman, all of these issues, whether the Fed, taxes, the debt, require compromise and agreement on both sides. The president has been unable to bring the two sides together to actually get things done. I'm referring, of course, to the fiscal cliff. Why should we believe that the next 4 years would be any different?
No, I don't think you should, because I think the approach is wrong. I don't think compromise isn't the right word, because they've been compromising in Washington for a long time. As long as the credit card was there and it was working and the dollar was forever strong and deficits didn't matter that much, they always compromise on raising funding and spending. So the Democrats and Republicans, did great. But right now they won't admit we're broke and it doesn't work anymore. So compromise won't work. What you want is to develop coalitions. For instance, I can give you an example. Dennis Kucinich and I work very well, and we have a lot of disagreements, but we agree on the Fed, we agree on deficits, we agree on the wars, and we bring coalitions together, bring progressive liberal Democrats together with libertarian conservative constitutionalists. I think you could solve your problems then.
Congressman, I appreciate your time so much. Good to see you again.